Philippine monkey-eating eagle, a noble bird. But nobility has helped little. This is the world's rarest eagle, reduced today to a mere 50 pairs.
Nope. Yeah. At least there's oil, but it's kind of strange because all these years have gone by, 36 years. And from time to time, my mind would drift to the Philippines, to the Philippine Eagle. It was always in the back of my mind. Will I ever actually go back to the Philippines and do a new film and study the eagle again?
How you doing, Ralph? Good. Neil Reddick. Good to meet you.
Number 2 is the cargo frames, the blind, the bag of tools.
Okay.
So what we should have in here is number 3.
All right, let's just start with it. So this has got to be the final inventory.
I have 335,295.
335,295.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, we're talking about the 180 millimeter
Yeah.
lens. Yep. And
And
so I've
there
got the
is a
serial
serial
number for that.
You do? Okay.
Yep. When we said that we were going to the Philippines for 5 or 6 months to film the most highly endangered eagle in the world, everybody thought we were crazy.
To make sure I've got some good working pins.
And I think that I don't realize that everybody else doesn't make the same leaps that and same conclusions that we do. That's gonna have to go to customs.
I would never believe that I could be sitting here right now and still know that Philippine eagles are still out there. Because 36 years ago, I was convinced that the bird probably had about 20 years left. And now all these years have gone by and there's still Philippine eagles in the wild. But I don't know how much longer that's gonna last.
You wanna go catch a bunny?
I'll be the first to admit that I'm not the best birder in the world. I'm not very good at identifying a lot of the small warblers and things like that.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
But I'm obsessed with birds of prey.
Our situation is a little bit different than most people that have pets. Hey, do you have a big turkey neck? So that's a little bit of a concern. And also just this place takes a lot to maintain.
I still don't like to turn my back on them all the time.
Come on, you come down here and eat. Yeah.
Maybe if you could just come here and hold this.
Oh.
How's scary. Come on, come on. No. Come on, come on. Get out of here. Come on.
She keeps the humidifier full. Maybe you should.
We've been planning for a year and a half.
Eggs that we'll need for custody.
And sometimes I really wonder if we're biting off more than we can chew. Hey guys. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to climb a 120-foot tree. What are you guys doing? I'm 64 years old, and it's a little harder to climb a tree than it was when I was 27.
When Neil came to me and said he was going back, I said I'd love to participate, but I think I'm going to pass. As we get older, you get a little more objective about things. He still had a lot of that fire and dedication that he had as a young man. He says, well, it's possible we're going to make this work.
I'm hopeful that we will make a difference, because I've seen how images have the power to change the way people look at nature, change the way they look at the environment, and change the way they care.
This is a story with some unlikely ingredients. 1, the jungles of the Philippines. 2, Chicago, USA, not the world's safest place either, a concrete jungle. 3 determined Americans, and their determination took them across the world to the Philippines on a dramatic wildlife project which lasted almost 2 years.
Bill, I can meet Bob Kennedy.
Bob.
Hey, Bill, how you doing? Nice to meet you.
It was the opportunity of a lifetime for all of us, really.
We had a team. It was quite a good team, and we had this lust for adventure.
I don't know of any other group of men who would spend their life and all their energies on a single mission, and that is to protect the endangered animals.
We arrived in the Philippines. We had 1,500 pounds of excess baggage, 40 bags of camera gear, film, the whole 9 yards.
The monkey-eating eagle was really the grand prize. Nobody knew anything about it.
We were filming and getting first time ever stuff. It was just first. Everything was first.
This has not been filmed before, and so intimate aspects of the spectacular bird's behavior are being recorded for the first time.
We were experienced, but we were naive, as young people are. And we still just forged ahead as if we were immune to any danger or anything happening to us. We wanted to do whatever we could to publicize the eagles.
There are some really powerful forces now that the people who are trying to protect the environment in this country are up against. They're gaining ground, but it's a race against time. And time's not on their side.
We keep a photographic compilation of all the eagles that we work with. So this goes back all the way to the 80s. This one is in Senaca, and look at all the people that went up there to see the birds. You can see all the kids glued to watching the computer. They're watching Neil's old films. This bird, as you see, is being instrumented with a radio and satellite transmitter. And this was from a tagged juvenile in Mount Apo. We'd had to leave the study site because of a military operation. And when we came back, the bird was dead.
Pantay-pantay, very good. Maayong buntag. So, mao kini ang story ni Malaya. Ni ansa tong si Malaya, nagluya siya ug nahadlok pag-ayo. Kinsaon ko man ni, nga hapit na ang mga ngayam. Buto sa bush. Lupad siya sa taas sa kabukiran. Unya, natingala ang tulo kanila. Tuong pako. Unsa gayto? Tuong? Ay, pampusilon tamog dinit nila pamakitan. Naana si Malaya sa taas sa kabukiran. Iya ang tingog sa iyang inahan nga nagingoy. Lupad! Malaya! Lupad! Very good! Palakpakan na tutunan! Og nilupad si Malaya!
And 11 duffel bags.
There was about 400,000 people in Davao. Now there's 1.5 million. And that population growth is translated to, more pressure on the forest, more hectic conditions here. And it's a different place. It's a different Philippines than I remember all those years ago. If it wasn't for the Philippine Eagle Foundation, the eagle would probably already be almost extinct. It's so steep here, it's incredible. And there's little houses way up there.
The eagle's domain, the only place in the world that it occurs, is the Philippine Islands, over 7,000 of them. Built from coral and volcanoes, they cover 114,400 square miles between Southeast Asia and Australia. Just north of the equator, and with rich volcanic soils watered by heavy tropical rains. Their natural cover is forest. Literally, it is steaming jungle.
The forest of the Philippines has been evolving since before the Philippines.
The Philippines sits in a belt of weather and environment that allows things to grow in a phenomenal manner.
The Philippines is considered one of the 17 mega-diversity countries in the world. The biggest, of course, was Brazil, followed by China, Indonesia. But these countries are 28 times larger than the Philippines. So on a per unit area basis, the Philippines pack more biodiversity than any country in the world.
I once asked a scientist, if we are so special, why don't we have tigers? Why don't we have rhino? Why don't we have orangutan? And he said, don't feel bad that you don't have tigers, that you don't have rhino, because you have the largest saltwater crocodiles in the world. You have the largest snake, the reticulated python, and you have the Philippine eagle.
I think my memory has slipped a little bit as to how difficult it is here. The forest is damp and wet, claustrophobic and enclosed. This is a hellacious climb. There's loose rocks. We're basically on our hands and knees all the way up. We're trying to get up on top of a ridge here to look down and see what kind of a panoramic view we can have, and maybe even see the nest tree. I think we've kind of lost Skip back there on the trail, but it is not fun. What do you think?
I think it's generous to call that a hike. That's climbing.
You know what the good news is? We're an eighth of our way there.
There is no way eagles can nest here. Where are they? It takes Free 6.5 weeks to find out.
It was like finding a needle in a haystack. We were going out basically every day, but we could never find the nest.
No nest had been found since 1963, and everyone said it was an impossible task.
Crossing rivers and streams, getting leeches on our bodies. I actually ended up having leeches on my eyes at one point. A big missing link there is that we didn't know they laid one egg every 2 years. So it was particularly hard to find a nest because you might be watching a pair of eagles during the off year.
They separate to check either side of a ravine, where they've had a rare glimpse of an eagle.
It's such a big bird, it's difficult to miss. Yet this big bird was only identified or discovered as new to science in 1896. So you could just imagine that for 400 years, the Spaniards were here and nobody knew that it was there.
At last, they find what they've been searching for.
Yo, Bob! Over here, Bob!
And I yelled over to Harry that I think there's a nest there.
There's a nest! There it is! Where?
And we were able to view the nest and see the eagle incubating a single white egg.
I think by seeing human shapes, they just disappeared. So the challenge of finding them is really very high. If you find it in your first try, you are a very lucky person. You would have to have prayed to high heavens to get that chance.
Ang ginaitlugan sa agila is binuwang tree, naapoy lawaan tree.
Perfecto is known this area all of his life, ever since he was a little kid.
Monkey eating this fruit of this tree.
So we follow every step he takes in the forest.
Kasi maraming tao na nagtatanong din sa akin na, yung Philippine Eagle yan, parang kumakain yata ng tao niya. Sabi ko, hindi. Ang Philippine Eagle, malaki lang siya. 1 meter ang taas. Tapos, yung may kalakihan lang siya, pero hindi kumakain ng tao yan.
On the right side, there's a piece of green vegetation. And behind that, a dark shape is moving. It might just be a leaf, but I can't tell.
I'm absolutely amazed that Perfecto found this nest. There's only 1 or 2 spots where you can barely see through this hole in the vegetation. Oh, this doesn't really give me the view we hope for. Skip and Laura, come in over.
We copy Neil, over.
Okay, we're finally at the nest, higher than we were before. It's still a very, very limited view.
It's all surrounded by branches of vegetation.
I know. We can do something here. We have to.
It's complicated.
It is complicated. I'm really hoping that this location works out. I mean, it's possible this egg's not even fertile, which would be a nightmare.
Breeding Philippine Eagles in captivity is a very difficult process for us. There's still that missing ingredient on how to have these birds lay a fertile egg.
We've been here going on 10 days now. From that point where they're working today, you can see into the nest a little bit. Not sure if we'll see the egg or not.
Laura, have you checked the nest to see what's going on?
The incubation period is about 56 to 58 days.
She flew back onto that really far hillside. Over.
During that time, it's very, very important not to disturb that nest and keep the female off the egg. Given the rarity of this bird, we cannot take chances. So prehistoric looking. It's like looking back into a tunnel of time, just like it was thousands of years ago.
She's got a chick there. Chick
Something's happening with that egg. You see that? That movement right there, that right there, that's an indication that she's gone from incubation to possibly brooding.
Skipper Laura, come in, over. Skipper Laura, come in, over.
Yeah, Neil, what is it? We copy.
We got some great news. We got a baby Philippine Eagle.
We've got a little baby now. It makes me just, I have this confidence now, you know. I needed this injection of you know, positive. I can only imagine how these adults must feel. They're such powerful predators. But now they have to become good parents, tender parents. Provide for the chick, keep it warm, protect it. It seems like no matter how many times I've done this during my life, filming birds of prey, you always go through these different stages of waiting and anxiety. But now, the baby is so fragile and so, you know, tiny, and he's got to survive.
One of the major goals of the Eagle Foundation is to breed eagles in captivity. On January 15, 1992, the first Philippine eagle to be bred in captivity through artificial insemination was born. The Philippine eagle population is near extinction, with only 51 known individuals. Therefore, this scientific breakthrough of this chick's hatching is vital in the recovery of the species.
Yes!
It is the culmination of 14 years' work. The chick is now 2 days old. Her name is Pagasa, which means hope.
We are very close because he was with when he is still young, from incubation and chick rearing until he sexually matured. This is Pagasa. I just call him Pogi. Pagasa is a hope of the foundation, hope for producing many eagles someday.
One of the challenges with working with the Philippine Eagle is that it's long-lived. An adult Philippine Eagle can live up to 45 years.
Because they grew up accustomed to humans, as soon as they become mature, they think of humans as their mates. And Eddie plays that role, a surrogate.
So the eagle recognized me as something like a female. pag-asa selecting or choosing me like a female partner. In the wild, because they are monogamous, I am his partner lifetime. No same, man.
Well, you may not have noticed, but then again, you may have. The rainy season has officially begun in the Philippines.
The torrential rains and fierce winds have all but shut down Manila. Around 20 major storms pass over the Philippines each year.
Did you hear all that thunder?
Yeah, I was just hoping the bird maybe would come back. Oh my goodness.
Today, the baby eagle was left alone on the nest because we frightened the female off. And it started to rain. It started to rain hard. You're looking at your watch. She's been off for an hour. It's a cold rain, and he looks like a drowned rat, completely soaked, and he's starting to shiver.
Those downy feathers that chick has is really good insulation, but as soon as the feathers get wet, the insulating properties go to nil, and baby birds have really zero body fat.
I think a cold rain could kill a young eagle in an hour and a half, 2 hours. That was like a wake-up call. Ideally, to really, really do the job we want, I would like to be 100 feet away, even a little closer maybe, 80 feet away. But it's kind of agonizing, wondering if we're going to be able to pull this off without frightening the birds and without causing harm to the baby.
We certainly don't expect any birds of prey to readily accept everything that we're doing, but Neil's experience with other Philippine eagles is that they're really quite a bit more tolerant than this.
That tree was about 200 feet tall, and the nest was about 145 feet above the ground. Trying to get around a limb at 110 feet off the ground that's as big around as a horse, that is a scary process.
One of the biggest risks in climbing these tropical trees is insects. If you run into insects that are nasty, there's no place to go. You can't run. Where are you going to go? You can't just drop out of the tree. That'd be worse than the bugs. I don't need that rope. Over.
Your extra climbing gear?
Oh yeah, the extra climbing gear, yes, and the saw. Over. Okay.
Got it.
What the hell am I doing here? You gotta just kind of ignore them. It's just almost impossible. The bees are getting really, really severe. the process for building platforms or blinds in the trees is kind of complicated.
It's built slowly with a couple of pieces each day over a 4 to 5 day period. This lets the eagles become familiar with the new, odd-shaped structure in the neighborhood. At the nest site, they build from 3 to 5 hides. The first one is about 200 yards away. The final hide is about 25 yards away and slightly above the nest so as to be able to see into it.
So what we did is we found a smaller neighboring tree, and we sent a rope across to the main limb of the nest tree, and then we basically just used carabiners and pulled our way across. Neil was actually the first person to go across. I followed him. And this was like a unique lifetime experience. Here I had this young eaglet of a pair that produces only one young eaglet every 2 years. In my hands, one of the rarest living things on the planet. And we got the first photographs of the eaglet in the nest, up close and personal. And then I proceeded to do that climb every 10 days.
Every 10 days, he climbs the nest tree to weigh, measure, and photograph the eaglet.
Well, when you're doing that, you've got one of the largest, most powerful eagles in the world, and here you are dangling from a rope at 120, 140 feet off the ground. And eagles and many birds of prey do not like people to enter their nests or get near their nests. And so they will attack. And the guys would photograph that.
Neil, do you see the female anywhere? Over.
She's in the green.
Big tree, over. Okay. Yeah, we can just make her out up on that limb. As soon as she leaves the tree, I'll let you know. Over and out.
I had straddled this very large branch where the nest was. And I heard from the guys up on the hill, "Here she comes."
Watch out, here she comes. She's coming right now.
And I just looked out of the corner of my eye and, over my shoulder, and she was heading at me, and I went like this. And she put a gash in the helmet and punctured my arm, tore my arm open.
Hey, it looks like she got a piece of you that time.
Did you get it?
Yeah, oh, I got it.
Get that over.
Looks like Bob might have a few scars on him.
Over.
I saw the whole thing through the viewfinder, and it looked like Kennedy might have got hit in the head
He's
and
got blood on him
shoulder.
down there.
Yeah, you saw it right. There's about a 4-inch gash down his shoulder and little blood coming out, and then I can see a long, deep gouge in the helmet.
A little blood.
It's his neck. Over.
I'm very proud to have been attacked by a Philippine eagle on the nest. She was doing the right thing, I was intruding.
The original plan was to start building a closer tree platform when the young eagle was 7 to 10 days old. We've been at this site going on a month, and the young eagle now is going on 21 days old. Man, that's a very tall tree. All right, here we go.
Skip, can you give us the time since Neil started climbing, just for reference? Over.
Yeah, it's been just over 30 minutes since Neil started to climb, but we're at 55 minutes since the eagle was last on the nest. Over.
We can only work an hour and a half each day. And one day you may be lucky only to put up 2 pieces of wood. Next day you gotta climb again, you put up 2 or 3 more pieces of wood. The day after that, maybe you're lucky you can put some planks up.
So, a 6-foot 2x4 would be awesome, over.
Okay, we'll cut it and sign off.
I'm actually swallowing insects up here like crazy. You wouldn't believe it.
So what's the plan?
Well, we're gonna finish up this close platform, and as soon as we do, start shooting from it. The closest we've been able to film from so far is 70 meters. It's a good view, but you can't get those intimate close-ups. You can't get the things that are gonna help people emotionally connect to these birds. We wish we had this close platform a month ago, but circumstances are what they are. This platform is going to change everything.
So this is the finished blind, and the work's gonna begin tomorrow here. Bugs are horrible.
You can't imagine the feeling of power, of grandeur of an animal like this until you really get up close.
I remember clearly the first time I ever saw a Philippine eagle, and I was completely blown away by how different it was from so many other birds of prey that I know. It's got this beautiful crest that stands up, and it's got these beautiful blue eyes, and it's got bone-crushing, powerful feet. You can imagine what it's like to be a monkey when they're in a troop. They're trying to protect their young ones. When this top-notch predator comes in,
I have seen 2 individuals hunting together, and occasionally you'll see one eagle kind of distracting monkeys when another eagle would come up from behind and grab one, kind of like the velociraptors in Jurassic Park. Unlike many birds of prey that don't necessarily eat large bones, the eagles do eat large bones. They get it in their mouth and then they go like this to force it down into their crop. Well, beagles don't realize if you offer that thing to a chick, the chicks are not capable of dealing with it.
There's been numerous times when I've watched the eaglet taking a bone that long and trying to choke it down. You know, it's a scary thing to watch because I always relate back to that awful day.
It's at this early stage of the nesting cycle that the chick is most vulnerable. The filming is going well, but the men know it's a critical time.
I thought everything was pretty much on course. We had succeeded in finding the nest. We had a healthy chick, and everything was going great. And then tragedy struck.
It was January 19th, 1978. I was the only one there. I was alone in the blind. I couldn't believe what I had just seen, what just happened.
I just can't imagine going out, setting up to film that morning, seeing that the eaglet is in trouble and not being able to do anything about it.
And then the crisis comes. The chick chokes on a bone and dies.
And the whole project just fell apart right then and there. I fell apart. This was the same chick I watched hatch. I made sketches of, recorded all the detail. I had kind of a real bond with that baby eagle. And then we had to go out and find another nest, and that took 2 months of searching.
But at last, with the help of their Filipino colleagues, they find what they've been searching for. Once again, almost hidden.
You know, you kind of live to play another day. And, you know, it happens in nature. Nature is not necessarily the nicest place out there.
It's not competitive.
Every egg is a precious thing to us because we only get a few fertile eggs. There's always that hope that every offspring that we produce here will eventually be released back to the wild.
The chick just let out a huge yawn. The chick spends about 80% of the time just laying down on the nest. When this baby eagle leaves this nest, it's never gonna lay down again. Unless it's incubating an egg someday, it'll always be perched upright somewhere. And he seems to really enjoy laying down and stretching out. So it's like, I guess growing up sucks.
bird like this to go from this stage to a self-sufficient hunter is pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready?
1, 2, 3.
Pelican Juice is on its way up.
There is a tender side to these eagles. There's this connected sense of family between the mother and father eagle and the chick, their baby. Yes!
These birds are working constantly, both the male and female, right from the beginning of the nesting cycle all the way through to these young birds are independent. They're eating snakes and bats, lemurs and monkeys and owls. They are working their butts off.
Later on in the afternoon, the chick started feeding itself from a bit of a carcass that one of the adults had left behind. And it brought it right out into the open so I could see the whole head of a civet. Most of the time, the adults kind of eat the head before they come in.
Every time I come up to this close blind, he's changed. He knows he's an eagle. He knows he's a Philippine eagle. He's born and raised in the canopy. He sees the prey that they're bringing in, and he's learning all of these vital things for survival.
I've spent so many days over the last 4.5 months sitting here watching this baby eagle all day long that I've kind of grown to think of him like he's my buddy. He's like, I left all my friends behind at home, but I still got this eagle, and we're like hanging out in the trees together all day.
This Sanaka pair of Philippine eagles miraculously are pulling off raising a family. It almost seems as if when we're here watching these eagles from our blinds, that everything is okay. And they're in this forest. But we've got to remember that this is a tiny fragment of forest, and everything is not okay. The 3 eagles that live here are 3 of 300 birds in the world. And they're raising this chick as if nothing's changed for thousands of years. They can't comprehend that this baby, when he leaves, he has no place to go.
There are great tracts of forest in these islands, and forestry is one of the biggest industries.
Axes and 2-man saws. With this kind of equipment, it was slow. The best feller in those days, the most he could do was 1.5 trees a day. With a chainsaw, one guy can do a lot more.
Scene 2, take 2.
The home of the eagle is threatened by the demand for hardwoods in distant countries. Rich countries like Japan, Europe, and the United States want that timber. To satisfy this apparently insatiable demand, logging goes on day and night.
In the late 1970s, the logging industry was booming. Every road, every highway in the Philippines had logging trucks back and forth, 24 hours a day.
I am happy to see that the reaction throughout the country is favorable. I have received hundreds and hundreds of telegrams from all corners of the Philippines congratulating you, and incidentally me, for the proclamation of martial law.
The height of logging was during the martial law era, where they were cutting down close to 400,000 hectares a year.
President Marcos used the forest as a tool to enrich his friends and himself, and as a tool to remain in power.
All you had to do was be relatively close to politicians, give them money during campaigns, and they'll give you these concessions.
The entire country had been divided up into logging concessions. They were cutting the timber out as quickly as possible.
No one was watching, there was no regulation, so they just cut with impunity.
And the government became so corrupt. You could do anything you want to. Just wait for the inspector to come in and bribe him.
There was really no incentive to protect anything.
The eagle's home is removed wholesale in this onslaught of modern technology. 2 acres of forest are felled every 1.5 minutes.
I saw how enormous the loss was, how greedy Marcos was. It wasn't just the money he stole from us, it was the forest which he stole from the Filipino people.
They destroy our forests, our lands, our rivers. We were at the losing end at the end of the day. That's the hard reality.
The first penetration of our forest areas were by big commercial logging firms, and they created access for a lot of smaller forests.
Most of the concessions were in remote areas, and in order to get there, you had to build roads to get in.
When you build a road to the forest, for whatever reason, it becomes bad for the forest because people trek in. And when people trek in, you can't stop them from trying to make a living.
Population pressure became intense, and people who didn't have land or didn't have farms in the lowlands, didn't have jobs in the lowlands, they'd move up and do slash and burn farming. And the forest quickly disappeared.
I mean, there were hardly even remnants of trees left. There might have been some stumps and things like that, but for as far as you could see, some places were gone.
We've gone through millions of years of the diversity that we now have in the Philippines, and in 100 years, we've decimated it.
It looked like it'd last forever. The forests were so thick. The forests went all the way to the ocean. All the way to the ocean.
We destroyed all of that in 70 years.
We used to have 20 million hectares of virgin forest in this country, around about the 1930s or so. And of the 1990s, this was down to an estimated just 1 million hectares.
It starts off with being massive. Basically, all of our islands, over 7,000, suffered deforestation.
There's hardly any forest left. The forests are just confined to these little tiny ridges, these little tiny sanctuaries that are still remaining where everything else is cleared and the land is just rolling grassland.
I think if you're looking out at the plane window, it's always beautiful. Yeah. You have the cloud formations, the light, the greenness of the land. If you look at it closer, you see it's a landscape that's bleeding.
Puris din yun. Puris. Puro kahoyan hanggang doon. Wala pa yung mga tao dito ng agila dyan. Kasi dyan may isang pugad dyan. Dito sa ibaba may pugad din dito. Tsaka dito may pugad din dito. Pero ngayon wala na. Lahat-lahat nawala. Yan sa karami-rami na ng tao. Population, destruction na talaga lahat.
There are a number of things that have changed profoundly over the last 3 decades here in the Philippines. First of all, is population. The Philippines, with 100 million people, is actually the 14th most populous country in the world. And so small as our country is, you could imagine what that means as far as population density is concerned.
Any way you look at it, 100 million people is a lot of people. But we don't have the luxury of space in the Philippines. And that creates all kinds of pressure on the land, on the environment, on ecosystems. And when populations are forced to go to the unlikeliest places for habitation, like wilderness, they're going to be in direct competition with other living things.
I don't like the feeling when there's birds coming in because there's another one removed from the wild.
So matatag arrived as a bird that is in poor condition. Almost all of its flight feathers were gone. The bird was severely dehydrated.
When an injured bird comes to the center, some of them are almost to the point of dying. If you get to nurse them back to health and have another chance of being released back to the wild, you get the feeling that you've accomplished something.
Actually, we will be putting this bird on a small cage now, so it will not be stressed.
Birds that come into the center are mostly juveniles. Maybe because they're inquisitive by nature. They don't know the dangers yet of humans.
We started hiking around 7:30 that Sunday morning. We arrived here around 10:40 a.m. I remember the head is here, facing there. The tail here. The back is here with the monitoring device. Looked like a bird just crashed on this side. Like a crash landing. Just crashed here, directly here.
When Ron told me about the death of the bird, he quickly mentioned there's a crack in the kill bone, and he himself thinks that it's caused by a bullet.
We're looking for an air gun pellet or bullet. Right now, it could have been covered with some mud and making it hard to find.
The experience of the Philippine Eagle Foundation is that whenever they encounter a Philippine eagle that are brought to them, it's been shot. It's been shot.
We always say that, if you want to see a model for Philippine eagle and people living together, you should go to Mount Apo. And then you get this news that one of your precious birds, actually nesting in the oldest nesting site in the Philippines, is dead. If this individual, which has been watched over for several years, can die, and this pair is within a protected area, what more for eagles in unprotected areas?
We hear news every year that there are eagles caught, there are eagles killed, died. So if this continues, 20 to 30 years or 50 years, we lose everything.
Dili lang jud na sakitan, mas sobra pa nga nasakitan ta kay simpre. Nauna pila ka tuig nara sa atong duol ng angilaw niya.
Kuan good, perminti good taga-adlaw gud na siya mo na dira mo tingog. Perminti pud na ako makit-an kay diri ra ko sa kuan makit-an naman ako siya diha. Nya. Nya ako manggani ang nakakita ato nga katong namiso na siya.
Di pagkadungog namo nako. Murag niinit ako kan ang gilabtan man nga nagtarong-tarong man diha. Murag lain gyud kayong gibati nimo kay murag kuan na mong ganato na murag close na nato bog tao pa siya close na nato. Tay ko nato na murag sakit yun.
If present trends continue, you'll only see Philippine eagles in captivity. You'll never see the Philippine eagle soar again.
I don't want to explain to my child that I'm working with the eagles only in captivity. I want to give him a chance to see eagles in the wild as well, because I did have a chance before to see eagles in the wild, and I want him to have the same chance.
You still have other eagles that you can spare from this experience. So how do we do that? We need to move forward.
Awareness is passé at this stage. We have to move on to attitude. Yeah, if you want an A for awareness, I'm looking an A for attitude. I want a change in attitude. That's something that sticks. And that's something you feel in your guts.
What I do when I'm up here is I just stare at this viewfinder. And that's all I do. To put all your energy into it, all of your senses have to be riveted. I go back to a higher frame rate in case we get an arrival. Hornbills are kind of getting panicky again.
As important as this is and as dedicated as Neil has been, I have a level of pessimism that until some major sociological changes take place, that we're all just delaying the eventual.
Some people question the sanity of actually trying anything. When they just kind of throw the towel in and they hold their hands up and they say, what can we do? What can you do? The population's going to continue, the forests will all be cut down, and the eagle will be extinct. Let's not just give up. Let's not say it's impossible. Let's not give up hope for the Philippine eagle and other endangered species around the world, including elephants and rhinos.
There was no obstacle that was too tall to get over. He found a way to get around it. There was no. He didn't say, no, we can't do that. We'll never find a nest. The eaglet died, we'll never find another nest. These are words that Neil would never say. But he followed through with it, regardless of the odds.
For me, these creatures are masterpieces of nature. Some people say masterpieces of God. Some people correlate it to religion. I personally cannot stand the thought of these masterpieces becoming extinct. And so there's a handful of people that want to do something about it. And I'm one of them.
There are no hopeless cases, only people losing hope. And I don't want to be that person losing hope. And I can see that my colleagues share the same thing. It's this faith that we have that this bird has a chance to survive in the wild. We know that other people might not share our values, but there's also a big possibility that such values can be shared by other people.
You have to have a dogged determination that where other people find excuses not to do things, you find the way to make it happen.
Philippine Eagle conservation work is not just about biology. It's not about ecology. It's not just about research. It's basically working with the diversity of human tendencies, of human behavior. It's partly economic, it's partly political, it's partly scientific, rolled into one. Things are connected.
I'm hopeful that we will make a difference, because I think we made a difference 36 years ago. The work we did has bought the eagle time. Time by influencing people, even President Marcos.
The eagle was described as Pithecophega jeffreyi. Pithecos meaning monkey and phega meaning eater or destroyer. So from the beginning of time, this bird was known even to the local people as a bird that eats monkeys. Well, you go in and talk to people about the monkey-eating eagle and how important it is, and they take up sides with the monkeys. So it was very important that we get rid of that name. When we went in to see Marcos, we said, this is a bird that does eat monkeys, but rarely. And we think that it's getting a bad rap by being called a monkey-eating eagle. And the president said, well, if it's only found in the Philippines, why don't we call it the Philippine eagle? Bingo, you know. So he passed a special presidential proclamation changing the name from monkey-eating eagle to Philippine eagle. Probably the only name of a bird in the history of ornithology that's been changed by a president.
Okay, adult just landed at the nest. Everybody, over.
I just saw that. If I can be quick, we might have a chance, over.
Okay, Skip, I think it might be good for you to not climb yet. Over.
I got to get this camera built, get it up and running, get the lens on, and actually hope that I do it in time to get him leaving for a possible flying shot. There's really a good chance that we'll get something from this platform. But you got to think clearly so you don't drop anything. It's actually kind of exciting.
The second one coming behind it, over.
I don't like to put human emotion into animals, but I can tell you what, it seemed to me like they were just enjoying that day in pair bonding, celebrating the fact that they've got a young eagle that's healthy and robust. And the first time I've ever seen anything like that. Yeah, that's great to get these details. See, these feathers are pretty much fully grown now. You know, the secondaries are still growing and the primaries in the tail. Little piece of down on the end of his beak there. He's slowly but surely losing all that stuff.
I try to pay a lot of attention to the feathers and the preening and that kind of stuff. Since that's like the kind of crucial right now is like getting his feathers ready for flight.
So you notice that when the wind kicks up just the right way, he really gets into it.
You can tell they take great pleasure when they're cleaning their beak, you know? Like
That has got to be one of the most amazing beak cleaning shots of any raptor ever done. Seriously.
That is so nice. Oh.
It'll be a legacy that will live on forever. I think that the vision to go back to compare what we did in the past to what we could do today and to go beyond that is very important.
The eagle must be accessible. People must be able to have an opportunity to see why this bird is our national symbol. When you see that bird, there are few wildlife experiences that compare.
Let's up daw ko. Let's up pod.
Init ba? Init.
Just
Init ba?
Secure na, secure.
See any shadow? There. There. The head is moving.
We believe that he belongs to the wild. And I have this faith that something good will come out of this. Every individual counts. Every opportunity where we can release fit birds back into the wild, we take it.
Philippine Eagles! Philippine Eagles! Okay, so unsa kay atong hinumduman? Mamusil ba tawag agila?
Conservation is just not for the Philippine eagle or for the animals or for the wildlife, but also for the ones who live here. They are the ones who can decide what will happen for their land.
Okay ba? Yes! Very good. Sige.
We could not stop. I mean, we should never stop.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
This one covering the nose.
It is something awesome. It is something really of wonder. We have to realize that just having a few of them in a zoo, we understand that that loses all its meaning. It has to have its empire to fly over. It has to have a view of the Philippines that holds us in awe.
Yeah, he's out.
If we lose the Philippine eagle in the Philippines, the whole world loses. It might be found here, but it's a property of the world.
We want it to be free across the Philippines. And that's a struggle. Because it takes more than belief, it takes doing. And this is the time for doing. We know all the right things to say, we have all the policies, but we have to live by it. That's the challenge. You just watch a child see an eagle unfold its wings for the first time, and you relive your own childhood. Yes, you can dismiss it as silly. Rationally, it has no value. Economically, it has no value. But what it has for the human spirit is immeasurable.
Hey, girl. Good girl.
The plight of the eagle is about so much more than just the eagle. I think the eagle is a very visible and powerful symbol of everything that is at risk.
I think all of us have to realize that saving the Philippine eagle and saving Philippine forests really goes way beyond what meets the eye. It's really saving our very own source of livelihood, our very own future as a country.